A smart path to better strength and fitness. Welcome back to Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us from Tonal is Troy Taylor. Hi, Troy.
Hi, Fred. Thanks for having me on.
A pleasure. You've got a great background, as does the company here. Let's talk about your background and then a little bit about Tonal, how this got started.
Yeah, so my background, the accent is from Britain. That's where I grew up, but fairly typical storyline. Loved sport, but just an average sportsman, not particularly talented. Didn't know what I wanted to do as I was finishing high school, so I went to university to study sports science and exercise science. That was the closest thing I knew. Was really fortunate. Went on to do the master's degree. Was really fortunate in a master's degree to volunteer for an Olympic team that was training out of the university, the swim team. I really enjoyed that. Very not glamorous job, but really enjoyed working at athletes, coaches, and really helping people improve. And was fortunate from that master's degree and internship to then land a role working in Olympic sport and professional sport, and then spent the next sort of 15 to 20 years. I date myself a little, but 15 to 20 years crisscrossing the globe, working for the Team GB, Team Canada, and Team USA through Olympic sports. About 7 Olympic Games or so, 500 Olympians, 50 Olympic medalists. Until 2021, where I came over to Tonal. If you told me I was going to work for a fitness technology sort of general population, I wouldn't have necessarily really realized that was where I was going to head. But I tried Tonal. I thought it was an absolutely incredible device and something that was really game changing, not just for elite athletes, but for general population. And so in 2021, I made the switch over and I've been here very happily ever since. That's my long version of the short version.
And you're changing so many lives, helping to change so many lives by doing that as well. And Tonal has been endorsed and it works with some of the really top athletes, LeBron James and a lot more too, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like a lot of the sort of the way that technology gets developed is it gets proven out in elite sport. I would work on projects with Olympic teams or professional sports teams, and you get this something, but it's not scalable. It costs too much money. The interface and software isn't very good, and then you work like it's a top down and trickle effect, right? You're like, how do I strip enough things out of this to make this valuable to general population? Tonal actually was completely the opposite. Ali Aradia founded the company really to try and emulate personal trainers and did a general job and wanted to do general fitness. That's where he came from. But what he found at the same time as I found Tonal in sort of 2020-ish is that pretty much elite athletes across the globe or across the US, across every major professional sport, started using the Tonal device. In the NBA bubble, during that tournament, pretty much every team installed it into their hotel. Obviously, LeBron James is a high-profile athlete that works with Tonal. I work with his coach, Mike Mancias, quite closely. There's numerous others from pretty much every professional sports league across the US that either has it in their training center of their team or in their home for their off season. So, incredible endorsement that a home piece of fitness equipment can get such traction with some of the highest profile athletes.
Well, tell us a bit about the user experience. We'll look at some images and video perhaps, but tell us what the user experience is with Tonal.
Yeah. So at the heart of it, it's electromagnetic resistance or motor-based resistance. So rather than having sort of mass-based, there's plates and barbells and dumbbells, or even a cable column that has weights, it creates electromagnetic resistance to create the resistance profile. And so that now is a couple of things. Number one, it makes it much smaller. It's behind my wall. It's behind me over here, but it's about I don't know 4 feet long and 5 inches wide. You compare that to the stuff that you've maybe seen in your gym that's a cable column, but it's a dual cable column in that there's two arms that rotate out, and you can do that. But the additions of like standard beyond sort of having this electromagnetic resistance, and we can talk about some of the advantages maybe in a little bit of having that resistance profile, but there's an integrated TV screen, touch screen, and so you can have coach guided workouts and programs delivered. I think there's more than 5,000 workouts, 300 programs loaded onto the platform. And so there's sort of an incredible library of where you can get stuff individually tailored to you. So your individual weight, we do a strength assessment when you first get onto the platform. We calibrate the entire movement library based off just 4 movement patterns based on off an AI algorithm. It's something like over 90% accurate, over 90% accurate in terms of a suggested weight. So we make sure that you're calibrated to the right weight so you get individualization. And then there's a ton of various different sort of experiences that are built into there. So we have form feedback. We have a smart view app. So it uses your mobile phone camera. You set it up perpendicular. And it will give you a video of yourself. It will give you a pose estimation model. So whether your form, it will give you cues of, hey, that rep you didn't really get as low in the squats. Try, getting a little lower. Sit back onto the chair. And so it will give you a ton of information around there. So it's really a sort of a resistance training device. There's 5,000 workouts, 300 programs. I would say about 80% of them are strength focused and 20% are Pilates or yoga or these other sort of adjacent modalities, cardio and others. So a really sort of holistic health and fitness platform.
Clearly, lots of tech built in here too, obviously, from the way you describe it. Why is strength training important? I mean, there are a lot of people who say, hey, I bike, I walk, I run, I do this. Why do I need to have strength training?
Yeah, I think, I hope, and I will do my part to advocate for this. I would say if I went back 20 years ago, I think most people generally thought strength training was more of if you wanted to be a bodybuilder or an elite athlete. That was the primary sort of drivers of thing. It was for some aesthetic goals or it was, for performance goals. What I think the research is clear, and it's abundantly strong at this point, is that for every stage of your life, strength training is probably as important, if not more important than cardiovascular training. So when you're younger, it's about building the strength and the muscle mass and the power to sustain you through the rest of your life. What we see time and time again in the research is your strength peaks around your 20s, 30s, maybe into your 40s, but then you start losing about 1% a year of strength for the rest of your life, and it actually accelerates faster past age of 65. And so you want to build as much reserve capacity in strength, and actually power declines even quicker. So that's force times or divided by speed, force times velocity. So how quickly you can move. And those become super important later in life for our quality of life, our ability to walk up the stairs, to cross the street while the green man is still on, to get out of a chair functionally. And so it's really important from that side. And it's also really important for like strength training, resistance training. If you've heard of sort of osteoporosis, strength training is probably your number one strategy for mitigating that, along with appropriate diet. But that's sort of age-related, bone mineral density loss, and sarcopenia, this age-related loss of muscle mass. And so we're really sort of strength is fundamental to all of these things that are later in life. Earlier in life, it's associated with a ton of and later in life, but also kind of cognitive benefits, mental. Mood state, decreasing anxiety, and a bunch of sort of mental related benefits to things, as well as just your ability to act functionally. I'm 45. I've got a couple of young kids. They want me to run around and lift and throw them, and they're getting heavier. Without strength training, I'm not picking up my 8-year-old who's 60 pounds very often. It allows me to have a really high quality of life there. So really, at every stage, it becomes super important.
And because of the technology that you're using, this can easily and almost on its own adapt to whatever your abilities are?
Yeah, exactly. So we have a strength assessment. It's an isokinetic, so same speed strength assessment when you first get on the platform that will calibrate all of your weights. And then every time you lift, we learn. We learn, we measure the speed, the range of motion. And so we learn about you, and then we can progress you. Hey, we noticed that set was kind of easy. You maintained your velocity, you maintained your range of motion. Yeah, a ton of algorithms. It didn't look like you were struggling. Let's bump it up 1, 2, 3 pounds and try again, and we can push. Or on the vice versa, hey, looks like you're really struggling today. The last couple of reps were really slow. You maybe did them, but they weren't at your normal velocity, or you shortened the range of motion and you changed these variables. Hey, let's decrease it down 1, 2, or 3 pounds. And so we can sort of modify on a sort of set to set or basis between sets. And we can also modify within a set, so between reps or within a rep. So if you're struggling on any given rep, we can reduce the load because we sense that you're really challenged. And so we can peer weight off. So that's a ton of useful for people like me in my home. I train, my wife may or may not be upstairs. I don't want to get stuck under a heavy bar, right? The weight will just peel off if I start struggling. So really beneficial from a safety benefit.
Terrific. So this is an investment, really a family purchase. Tell us about how this works, the equipment and the subscription.
Yeah, so the hardware is about $4,000 for the hardware alone, and you can finance that through a firm at 0%, depending on your credit kind of basis. And then there's a $60 a month subscription. And so the way that I think, and that $60 covers your entire family. So you could have 3, 5, 10 people all on that same one subscription. So you start dividing it if you're married or cohabit, you have kids, or parents or grandparents that maybe live around or train. So you can kind of take that one membership and it works across every single person. And so the way that I think about it, it's the equivalent to, it's certainly cheaper than personal training. If you were going to hire me or someone on my team or things, you would be spending much more a month. If you wanted to say 1 or 2 sessions a week with a personal trainer, this is, how many sessions you use, it's going to be one price. And so I like to think of it, it's probably in the idea of a medium to high end gym membership, your sort of upper middle kind of gym membership. It's certainly not as expensive as some gym memberships out there, but it's certainly, not as cheap. It's not $10 a month or anything like that. It's an investment in your health and fitness, and one that we think is extremely valuable, and one that our members tell is extremely valuable. One of the stats that I think we're most proud of is we have a churn rate, so the amount of people that unsubscribe to our membership of well below 1%, much closer to 0.5% a month, which is unheard of. NPS rating in the 70s, mid 70s. But yeah, people essentially are saying, hey, I don't want to give this thing up. That's industry low churn levels. So once people make the commitment, they stick with it, and our engagement stays really high, which we're really proud of.
That is great news. And of course, if it is used often, which it should be, the machine's getting a workout. So tell me about how this is built, and it has to be really durable.
Yeah. There's a lot of sort of supply chain and mechanics go into it. If I go to our San Francisco office, I go and see them pulling with, like, the machine goes up to 200 pounds, but they're pulling with 800 pounds to do reliability and safety testing and sort of safety factors around that, and a really robust sort of supply chain. And so it comes with sort of a 2-year warranty initially, and you can extend that to a 5-year warranty and do an extended warranty where we'll cover everything after then. And then there's service contracts afterwards. But, given that churn rate percentage, I think, that there are things that break occasionally in the same way that are everything, but really robust device that people have been lifting millions of pounds. I've lifted more than 6 million pounds on my tonal and not had any issues. So it gives you a sense of what it is. But yeah, millions of pounds, multiple years without issues. And then there's warranty coverage for those that do have some issues occasionally.
Just terrific. So for more info, the place to go is Tonal, TONAL.com. Troy Taylor, thank you for spending time with us.
Thanks, Fred. Really appreciate it.